course it's not working. That stupid Synapse. Don't ever buy a Razer product. Their software sucks. Okay, that has nothing to do with this. I'm here to just talk. I figured I was going to get all this together, and I just got these 3D printed parts. Oops, that camera's not. Oh man, I'm going to have to start the software. Hold on. Crap. That crappy ass software. I can't believe it crashed again. So this, my little switcher mouse depends on this Razer Synapse software, and it crashes. In fact, I just checked it before I started this, and it didn't work. I mean, it did work. It was working. So yeah, it crashes a lot. Not good. Don't get it. Okay. That's not good. Okay, we're back. We'll get our act together. So I've been working on this FPV combat system that me and Andy and Kevin are going to hopefully get to use and try out. And so I'm thinking of these, let's see if it switches now. Oh yeah, look at that. I'm thinking of these spec wings that I want to build, 3 of them. So I thought I would gather as much parts as I have to see what everything I have so far. Of course, I need 3 of everything to build 3. So I actually, today's payday, thank you job, and so I ordered a bunch more of these, 6 more of these, because I don't really have any anyway. So I've got 2. That's for 1 wing. You need 2 servos for each wing. These are the Emax ES08 MD2 digital metal geared servos. And let's just go down the equipment list, shall we? I ordered 3 of these. They were on sale at Banggood for 20 bucks. This is what I've been using on several of my little might not work, this one says. Might not work. Well, anyway, I ordered 3 more of might not work type video. Now, let me just preface this in saying those guys might not want to fly these planes that I build. I don't know what their opinion is. Anyway, so let's go move on. So the VTX is this, it's 800 milliwatts. You can control it with iNav. It has switchable power, 200, 500, 800, 25, pit mode. It has a microphone input, I think. Oh, that reminds me, I have these little mics too. I don't have enough of those either, but these little mics. Is that a mic? Yeah, I think that's a mic. So, automatic gain control microphone. So, you wire this up inside the plane somewhere where it's not going to get a bunch of wind noise, and you can get some good motor sound into your VTX. And if you're the type who wears headphones, I have a little earpiece, the Mr. Steel earpiece, so we'll keep this with our pile of equipment. Okay, so maybe I should get, is it 4? No. Is it 6? Yes. No, that's that one. Is it 11? Yeah, that one. You think I'd just number them 1, 2, 3, like not. Okay, so what else do we have? So we have the VTX, the Eachine 5258, like I said, on Banggood right now, 20 bucks. They usually work, although this one, like I said, has this little slip of paper. Might not work. Might not, but it might. So yeah, see. I don't think I'm going to try hooking this one up, but there's 3 more coming. So maybe we'll set that one aside. So for the main camera, okay, let's keep on the equipment. Going on the equipment, we'll stay on the equipment, is the Runcam Phoenix Nano 2. And again, any micro or nano camera will fit, I think, in this little spot that I've made in the 3D printed pod for the camera. But this is like 14 millimeters, and I'll show you how it fits in a minute. 14 millimeters square, and I've already have one in my other Aero wing that's very close to this spec wing. And anyway, okay, so this is very light and good camera, I think, I hope. Again, these are all my opinions, and Kevin and Andy may have different opinions and may not want this equipment, but this is what I'm going to build for these 3 wings. Okay, it has 2 cameras because we're using a flight controller that has a switchable camera situation, and I love having a switchable camera. So I haven't pointed out the side before, but I think in the rear, I think we'll point this one out the rear. This is a Caddx Ant, and we're gonna have to get more of these. I think this is my last one. I bought a bunch of them, but I've used them. They always come with a little control pad, which is nice. They're super cheap. This one I had in stock from a previous purchase. They're super small. I mean, this is nano size too. Let me measure it. Well, you can't see that anyway, so you'll just have to trust me. So it's 14.4, so it's 14 millimeters basically by 14 millimeters. So it's a nano sized camera. 13.8. Anyway, this seems to be a decent little camera, especially for the price. I think it was like $20. I'm gonna have to list everything, aren't I? Comes with a little controller. It has a little bracket, I think, to hold it. Yep, there's a little bracket in there. And in fact, I used the little bracket. So you put the little bracket on the... Wait a minute. Does it have a little bracket? I'm pretty sure it has a little bracket. Let's find it. Let's make sure it has a little bracket. Yeah. Well, that's a different little bracket than I was thinking. Has that little bracket. I thought my other one came with a little metal bracket. But it comes with several different size length screws. M2 screws. Depending on the thickness of your mount. So we might 3D print one. Maybe that's what I did for the other one. I'm not sure. But anyway, it does have this mount. It's rubbery. Burp, burp, burp. All right. That's the sound we make for our dogs. That burp, burp, burp sound. Okay, so Caddx Ant, secondary FPV camera. You won't probably fly through this. You look around like so. I'm going to point it backwards since we're doing combat. It's probably going to be the rear facing. See if you can see who's behind you. So those are our 2 cameras and our Might Not Work VTX. That's the VTX system. Of course, we have the FPV Combat system itself, and I have made parts to fit all these. Designed the pod to make sure it fits all these 3 components: the gun, the board, and the sensor. And for the flight control board, we're going to use this Might Not Work because Andy says that every one of his is broken. But I'm going to buy them, so it doesn't matter. F411WSE Maytech flight controllers, and they fit in the plane and very easily, and they're good flight controllers from my point of view. I've had really good luck with it. It's really small. It's like 20, I think it's 24 millimeters. It does not have a mounting pattern like a quad flight control. Oh, it's 28.2 there. Anyway, it's a very nice flight controller from my point of view. From my experience, my FT Aero iNav equipped plane has been really, really awesome, and I haven't had a single problem that relates to the flight controller with that plane. I mean, I have bashed the crap out of it, and it's gets wings and things replaced, but the flight controller keeps on going. All right, so back to the stuff. So that's the flight controller. We covered the servos, right? Did we cover the servos? I think we did. Emax, little tiny Metal Gear servos. Okay, the flight controller is going to have a Panasonic low ESR 1000 microfarad or 1 farad capacitor rate, where so basically when you are putting the way I align it in the airplane is this USB port is toward the front, and the 2 battery leads are here, and so basically the capacitor, whichever side is negative, I don't know right now, but will go on like that at the same time as I solder the wires on there. So yeah, so good low ESR capacitor. That's what this is. It's pretty gigantic. This is the 35-volt version. Also, I have also a 380 microfarad capacitor, low ESR Panasonic. Get these from Mouser, by the way, in the United States. And this one will go on the flight control board power leads. I decided that since I have them, might as well use them. It helps smooth out the power, protect the board, you know. So we're going to do that. So we're going to have these 2 low ESR Panasonic branded capacitors. Okay, so we're almost done with all the parts, and we're going to get to the 3D printed stuff. Also, the motor, I've come to like putting little rings around the motor, light rings, since the flight controller can do a ring. And also the FPV Combat can control a bunch of lights too. So I don't know which one we're going to do for these, but I've already had a light ring holder designed to hold it behind the motor, back by the motor, and so I have 3 of them. 3 of them from Adafruit, genuine Adafruit, NeoPixel. These fit perfectly around the 22 size motor from Sunny Sky. And my dog needs to go out, of course. So we're going to have to do the please stand by thing. Damn it. Please stand by. Sorry, folks. I have to go walk my dog. Okay, sorry folks, made it back. Dog walked. Microphone mic'd. I think it's working. All right. Right on. So where was I? Opening my coffee. Yeah, I'll take this plastic thing off kind of dangerously. Oh, except this time it didn't really work. I hate that plastic thing. Ugh. Okay. Cold Frappuccino. I think we've finished with all the electronics. Oh, lights. So let's switch back to that. So for the lights, I mentioned the rings. These will go on the motor. I can show you what. Well, I'll show you when I'm showing that part. How about that? Okay. Then I have these other lights, these cheapo WS2812 lights from Banggood. And I like to put these in various places too. And then I have a few of these. I think these are the Adafruit ones, I'm not sure. But I've got some of this stuff too. So there you go, there's the lights. And the last piece of electronics is the little remote control. This was in one of my electronic parts bins that came with some kit of something, and I never used it for its intended purpose because I doubt I used the parts for the kit for its intended purpose. But you can use any infrared remote and set up the control, the buttons to do what you want to manage the FPV Combat menu system. So that's what this is for. Okay, and so then on to the, and then we have a buzzer. I'm going to add a buzzer. So the FPV Combat board has a buzzer right there. But I like to sometimes add a buzzer to the iNav board too. So that's what this is for. And now one thing I want to mention about this FPV Combat, since we're still on the electronics, is that these little servo cables that come with it are the worst in the world. They're such hard plastic that you wouldn't want to use them. And even the cheapy servo cables that I get from Banggood are way, way better. So we're going to use these to hook it up, at least when we test it, and not use these, because I don't even think I can bend this one through the part that I need to bend it through because it's so stiff. So we're not going to use these. So everything in this kit looks pretty cool, and you know, they deserve the $50. They went through so much work, I'm sure, to develop this system, and they're still working on it, so that's fine. I don't care that they included cheapy ass servo cables in the FPV Combat kit. Okay, so one last thing. So I still don't have an ESC figured out, and not that a particular ESC should be, well, I don't know. Anyway, I don't have an ESC yet, or ESCs. This motor, as it says on here, is saved for my Goblin build, so I won't be using this motor, but I'm going to buy more of these motors as soon as I can, which probably won't be for a month. So I hope they're still in stock in a month. They're in stock right now, and what they are is Sunny Sky 2216, but they're 2400 kV. So they're the X series motor. They're the second version of the X series motor, not the third version, the blue ones, which are more expensive and I guess have better bearings and better magnets and all that stuff. But I like these because they're decent price. except for one failure that I just had on my FT Spear build, I haven't had any trouble with these motors, but I did just burn one out. It was 2 weeks ago. So anyway, this is a 2216 2400 kV, and we're going to run it with a 4S. I've just bought some 2200 4S China Hobby Line batteries, and we're going to see they're like 30C, so they're not super powerful batteries, but it doesn't matter, does it? 30C is enough. 30C is enough to pull more amps than this motor is approved for. I think the motor is only good for 30 amps. And so that motor that I scorched a couple weeks ago, that was also only, according to Sunny Sky's website, was only good for 30 amps. And Andy said, I haven't reviewed the OSD yet, but Andy said he was watching it. He was on board, and he said that it was I was pulling 40 amps on that Spear when it burnt out. So we'll see. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the airframe. And the airframe consists of course, one of the parts of the electronics that I left off is the GPS. Well, I have that in the wing here. Switch cameras back. So the GPS is in the wing. It's a Bentian 220, basically. That's what it is. So we can't forget the airframe. The airframe is the most important part of an airplane, of course. Without that, you're not going very far. So these are the aero wings. These are half built. Basically, what I do is I cut them out from the pattern, a flight test pattern, and I cut them at the line that you would have on the top for the FPV pod. So if you look at the flight test plans, there's basically two ways to cut the wing. One is with an FPV pod, one is without the FPV pod. Well, we don't cut the wing either of those two ways, but what we do is we use the top line and we match that on the bottom. We'd use the top line for the FPV pod line, and the bottom would have extended further, but in this case they're cut at the same plane. The only difference is that on the top the actual line isn't straight because these bends around the wing. So, but you do just to pick a certain point, and I have it drawn on I have a drawing with the line on it, so I just cut with that line. Actually, you use the inside, I know how you get that line. You use the inside of the little cutouts that they have for the FPV pod, or the outside of the little cutouts. That's what it is. Anyway, so this is the aero wing, and this one's already laminated with packing tape, colored, stickered, all the things labeled. So I'll be building 2 more sets of these at least. And basically, quickly, the finished product is going to look something like this. This is an aero wing with a 3D printed pod. So the wings are basically exactly the same as this build here. But the pod is a newly designed, it's the same design pod, but it's got some different dimensions. I've changed some things, so that's what we're going to get to. If I get it together here. And and so here's the new pod, and I'm not sure what I think of it yet. And I don't know what Andy or Kevin will think of it either. They probably think this plane is like the ugly duckling of all planes, and it's probably true. So that's fine. It's okay to build an ugly duckling. So the center pod, it's really black and dark. Let me see if I can get some light on it. That helps a little bit. So this is my first print of this bigger design. So the design, that other wing that I showed you, is got the same width from the extremities here, but the inner pod of this pod is I think it's 20 millimeters. I think I went 10 millimeters on each side. So it's 20 millimeters wider, plus 26 millimeters wider on the inside than the other plane. And this pod is actually lighter than that other pod that I had on that plane that I just showed. So it's because of the print settings. I've scaled down the print settings a lot. That one was way more heavy duty print, and printed more than a year ago, less experienced. Anyway, but the design is essentially the same. From the back dimension, it's the same. All these holes and everything are the same as the other pod. Where the spars go, where it matches up with the wing, the arrow wing design. And then this front length, I made, the other one was previously shorter than the wing, and I left the front of the wing hang out the front. But now I'm making this dimension front to back from this point, from this point to this point, the same exact dimension as the bottom of the arrow wing. So it fits right in there, front to back. It'll be pretty much perfect. Okay, so now I've just I printed this the other day, 2 days ago. I'm gonna have to put the camera down more. 2 days ago, and then I just finished printing these, and I've been waiting to do this live stream, so I haven't touched it. So we're just gonna, I took these off the printer. First we're gonna see if they actually fit in the part, and they do. So this is what I call the ESC scoop part, and I print it upside down with supports. That's what all that is. So now what we have to do, when you print this out, you have to clean it all up, and we'll just do a preliminary cleanup. So the supports come off pretty easily. You just rip them off, and hopefully you can get it all off without damaging the parts too much. And this one is a change from the previous design, where I added some screw holes first to mount. I used to just glue these things on, and that turns out to be a pain in the butt. So now what we need to do, I'm going to change glasses so I can see what I'm doing. Oh yeah, look at that. So I'm going to sand this part off here to make it smoother, but so we'll just get this stuff out of the center here, and then we'll see if the parts fit. That piece has got to come out. Oh no. I'm going to have to pry it out. There we go. Okay. So this top piece here, so this goes on to there like that. And the idea is I'm going to sand all this so it looks a little better. It's pretty rough. Those screw holes are pretty bad. That didn't turn out. Actually, we can fix that a little bit better. There's a little pocket in there. So this takes a little bit of post-processing, this piece here. But that's 3D printing. Many parts take post-processing. So there's little catches for little tiny screws. And I have some, I'm not going to dig them out right now, but I got some little tiny self-tapping screws of a bunch of different sizes. And then we'll see if it all fits. But first, before we do that, we got to see if here we go, if this fits. Oh, I might have to make it a little bit bigger. Yep, see? It doesn't quite fit in there. So my tolerances are a little off. I don't think there's anything I can sand that down just a little bit right there. But the one that Andy has might be a little bit bigger, and the one that Kevin gets might be a little bit bigger. Let's also see if the little, so that needs to be made a little wider too. There's a little slot there that needs to be wider. So I'm thinking, actually could almost push it in there, but this is the way it's going to go. And then the wires to connect it. Now this comes with the pins pre-soldered on, which doesn't thrill me. Let's see if this fits through. Oh, that doesn't fit through either. Oh, yes, it does. Okay. So what I was thinking is either it gets plugged in directly. Oops, put it through the wrong way. Let's push it through and get it through. Let's get it. Oh, I'm off camera again. Let's get it through the right way. So I'm either thinking that it goes on like this and just plugs in, but that thing is so huge. What I was thinking of is just soldering the wires onto the pins there, or even clipping the pins off. They might not want to do this to theirs, but on my build for my plane, you know, they might not want to build this plane. Maybe I'm just going to be building 3 planes and they won't want one. I don't know. We haven't really discussed it. I just keep saying what I'm doing. So there you go. Anyway, see, I'm going to have to clean all this up. All this has got to be cleaned up a little bit. This surface has got to be sanded. Oh, it doesn't. It turned out a lot worse than my previous ones that I've printed upside down like this surface up here. You can see that. I don't know if you can see it. I wish it would have done a better job with those going across like that. I'm not sure if that's part of the, is that supposed to be part of the, oh yeah, that's part, all these pieces are part of the, what is it called, supports. So I'm going to have to get all those off. That's why it looks so bad. Okay, but it does fit, except this needs to be made like 0.5 millimeter wider. I mean, it really does stick in there, but I'm not going to trust that. It needs to be 0.5 millimeter wider. So then, what other parts do we have? So we have this little board holder. And the way I was thinking that would go is in here like this. And I'm actually thinking what I need to do is have a little ridge in the part, in this pod part right here, so that when I want to double stick this down, I have a straight surface besides the side. I have a double straight surface, one on the side and one in the front, to put this down. Because this holds the flight controller right in the center of the plane, and it holds the other controller board, this one. And the way I was going to orient that was with the wires going backwards so that they're out of the way. Then they can feed behind in here, and there's a hole in here. So they can go through to the flight controller or out to wherever they need to go. Then we have one last piece. Can't get it out. Let's see if we can get it out with the pliers. Which is the little gun. And the way the little gun goes, so this works well. Let me just make sure that This one is going to be screwed down with little plastic M3 screws, and those will obviously fit just fine. So that'll work. I haven't dug out the plastic M3 screws yet, but okay, so this piece is good. Now I just have to make it so that there's a place sort of scribed in for it to go. I think if I had to change anything, oh yeah, it's got to go up a little bit. So I'm going to make the center, I'm going to make it so the line that holds it is basically to hold it to where the center line is at the edge of, oh, you can't even see, Jesus. Is at the edge of that, center line of that hole. That's what we'll do. And then it'll go that way. Then it'll pretty much be right in the middle. I should maybe extend that out just another 1 or 2 millimeters that way. Let me see. Yeah, I don't think it matters. 1 or 2 millimeters off center isn't going to matter. But if I wanted to be a perfectionist, I would move the board over to the right side of the plane by 1 millimeter, which I probably will do. So we'll make it 1 millimeter longer. Actually, I think I got it, because didn't I don't know. I thought I lined it to the center line. I'm not going to change it. I keep going in indecision, folks. So, okay, so what else do we have? We have the gun. Let's fit the gun. Let's get this off and get this off. And the gun fits into this little spot right there. Oh, and it fits right in. So the way it's going to go is it's going to go in like that. I wonder if you can see. So that's how it's going to go in. And I think all we're going to do is stick it through that hole, a little dab of hot glue, and then you can kind of line it up, make sure it's pointed straight, just like that. That's how it's going to go in. Am I got it in camera? There. So it goes in like that. That's the bottom left corner of the inside of the fuselage pod. And then in the front, it'll look like that, which you can barely see, the little tiny thing right there. Then on this side goes the camera. That's where the camera goes. I'm pretty sure that fits because I already test fit it. The wires go up, they point up. And you fit it in there. And again, this thing is just going to be held in, lined up. And I can see one adjustment I need to make. My other plane that it goes in, you can see it in there. My other plane that it goes in has a little bit of a deeper well. The front part, that's one of the reasons it's so heavy. It's actually 10 millimeters thick in the front pod. And that little pocket is deep enough to kind of capture this camera. Oh, shit. Capture the camera and hold it in there. So I'm going to make that a little deeper. Okay, so that's the second adjustment I got to make for the next pod. So the better pods will go to Andy and Kevin's planes, but this pod will be my pod. It's perfectly fine. So some close-ups, there's the back. So the motor cross, the mount that you get with the Sunny Sky motor goes there, and on the inside of that are little nut catches. Also on the back are these three little holes. Those are basically, I think, for air to get out, and I usually put lights in there of some sort. These little parts here are to hold the foam board. So you put a piece of foam board in here and in here. And you make the lid out of foam board, of course, too. These are the spars. And I use the term spar loosely. But they also get glued in when you glue in the wings. You glue it all in. You glue the spars and the wings at the same time. And yes, you can change out a wing. You will destroy the wing that you're taking off to get it off, but you can change out a wing. I will wire the servo cables directly to the flight controller with servo pins, and they will go down here. That's where the servos go. So there's pins to plug them in, and that'll be, you can replace a wing on this wing, if that makes any sense. Oh, and also these are from some other, I usually put these little fins on here. So there's little pieces here to hold them, and this is somebody else's print from some plane somewhere on Thingiverse. So there's a couple of those for each plane. Wow, I think that's everything. So that's all I've got to say, really. I don't know if anybody's been watching. I haven't been looking over there. No, of course not, but that's okay. You don't have to watch. It's for my own good. Oh, the light rings. Oh, we haven't done everything. Okay. So we have these little light rings. I printed 2 of them. Oh, and the motor. So the motor extension. So the motor gets extended out the back a little bit by this, I call it the motor spacer. And oh, look, I just broke this one. Look at that. There you go. So they're designed not for strength, but for, oh my gosh. I just broke that one. Anyway, doesn't matter. They get glued in, or screwed in, and mine they're going to get glued in, I think. But I'm trying to design it so that, like, if Andy and Kevin get one, they want one, that they can maintain these things without having to do gluing jobs all the time. So I have 2 different sizes. I have this size, which I just broke. I may make those a little bit thicker. I can make this part thicker, bigger. I think I need to do that. Okay, and then I have the small size, and this one is the older design. I didn't fillet the edge here. Actually, it broke at the edge of the fillet. That's interesting, and these ones don't break. Maybe I should not have a fillet. I don't know, we'll see. So I also print these upside down with support, and the way these work, if we can get this stuff off of here. I know, I should have prepared these first, but I wanted it to be shared with the world. Maybe I'm going to make a clip of this for my Thingiverse YouTube about all these parts are going to be on Thingiverse. The older versions are on Thingiverse now, and these parts will be on Thingiverse. So anybody can build this piece of junk if they want. But I love my aeroplane. I love it. I mean, that's why I'm building more of them. Okay, so first let's see. I've taken all this stuff off. Oh, and none of it was in camera. I've taken all the support material, this stuff, off. Now let's get out one of the light rings here. Let's make it a wider shot here. Get out one of the light rings from Adafruit and make sure it fits. And it fits right in there. You can see it fits. It's this nice snug fit. So these, the motor mount cross thing goes on here. holding the motor. There's little tiny holes there. Can't see them, but I think I have to make them a little bit bigger. And then these are supposed to go there. So what I have to do is make more holes along here. So there's 3 sides that are flat and 1 side that isn't. And these 3 sides that are flat are to mate up with this. So this is different than the previous design on my part. And then that screw hole is supposed to line up with one of those 2 screw holes there on the inside part. And then you put those little self-tapping screws that I have. And so this will be able to be maintained without glue. Because you have to take this off to change the motor or to tighten the motor screws. So if your motor screws ever get, you know, loose, which they will do, because what happens is when you've got this whole thing put together, why did I take that off here? It's going to be on there like that. Oh, now it's going to fall off. When you have this whole thing and then the motor sticking out here, and this thing is sticking out to clear the screw heads that are bolting this on. This is bolted on with like 30 millimeter. I can't remember the size I need to use. I'll figure it out. 30 millimeter, let's say for now, or 25, 28, can't remember. There's little nuts in there. M3 nuts are going to be in there. And over time, this PLA will compress. And then also, if the motor gets heated up, it actually pushes in and melts the plastic here a little bit. I've actually done that. Oh, that's the motor that burnt out on me. Melted the plastic on the motor mount. Okay, well, I think that covered all the stuff. So the only piece really that's missing from one single plane to build is the ESC. Don't know which ESC yet. Don't know where we're going to get them. Don't know how much they're going to be. But we have all the other parts. And I'm going to make a few adjustments to the 3D printed parts. And I'm going to print some more of them. Oh, I made 2 different sizes here of this light ring. The one that I broke is this one. It's the long size, which probably isn't the one I'm going to end up using anyway. These are the ones I've been using, except I added these little holes on the side pieces. So I think we'll just print some more of these and go with that for now, for these Adafruit light rings. So that's all the electronics. So we have enough electronics except for the ESC. As I said, oh, one more 3D printed part. Whoops. Optionally, you can have a hook glued on the bottom, which I do have. If you're into bungee launching, which I've kind of launched the one, I have one wing with this bungee launch, and I used to just always bungee launch it. But recently I finally relearned, I should say, how to, oh, I'm dropping parts all over the place. I relearned how to throw it in the air without the help of a bungee. But a lot of people like bungee launching, including me. So there you go. You got a bungee launch hook too. And this one is my own design that I copied off of somebody else's design, but then I changed it so it would fit my needs, if that makes any sense. I looked at what they had, a picture of what they had, and made my own in 3D CAD software like Fusion or something. So that's it. That's the FPV Combat thingamajiggy system with all the parts that we're going to use for the Spec Wing, which is basically an FT Arrow with a big giant fat. Oh, this pod, bare bones by itself, weighs 146 grams, which is the same weight as this pod that doesn't even have the front and that is actually smaller in size, but that was printed with 3 top layers. and a few percentages more infill. So this one is 3 bottom layers, 2 top and side layers, and 22% infill. And this one I think is all 3 layers around all perimeters and 25% infill. So is there any difference in strength? No, there is not. There is not any difference in strength. And this one, which is bigger and has more material on the, when you look at it on the outside, than this one, which is still lighter than the one I actually fly, because that one was built with, who knows how bad I printed that one. This one weighs the same as this one, which was my previous design of this. So this one only fits a 3S battery. This one will fit a 4S battery. So it's bigger, and it really is stronger when you think of this whole front piece here that's made of plastic, except that if you break the front, you won't be able to replace it with foam board like you can with the other design. But okay, I don't know. I don't know what's better, what's not. I'm going to try to get my shit together with YouTube, so maybe I'll read the comments someday on my videos, but I haven't been reading the comments. I haven't been replying. I'm the worst social media manager ever in the history of, because I'm really just doing this to spread some information as much as possible, but not, I haven't figured out the workflow to get my act together with the social media stuff, so I'll try to correct that. And I've got videos I'm producing, but that's another thing. I can't get a video edit finished. I spend so much time, and then it's not perfect, and I just keep going and going and going and changing this little thing and that little thing. And if you look at some of my videos that I've edited, there's a lot of editing going on there. But I think people like it, but it's so much work. And I like it too. I actually like doing the editing. I like running the editing software. I like all those things, but I don't have the time to do it right, because it just takes hours and hours and hours and hours, especially when you're a slow-ass video editor like me. But anyway, that's all I can say for now. I'll try to get my act back together, and I'll try to actually edit some real clips instead of just doing the cheap way out and doing the live streams of stuff. Even the live streams, I'm recording these, of course, and I'm hoping to actually make videos from the live streams and take these live streams down, which I usually do anyway after they're done, because nobody watches them. So actually, Andy and Kevin, as soon as I hear that they can watch them, then I can take them down again. All right. Thanks for watching.